Hello and welcome back to another comic series AMA. This month we're going to focus on questions centered around the Mario Party series. Mario Party is a party game series from Nintendo focusing on Mario and his friends. It's basically based on a lot of board game mechanics. You go and collect stars. Whoever has the most stars usually wins. If there's a tie, you'll get the tiebreaker with coins. Stuff like that. There's a bunch of different gimmicks depending on which one you're playing, but they're all basically the same thing. As usual from the last few, I'm going to be answering off the top of my head with a few bullet points, so let's get started. The first batch of questions comes from Aquasun, first of which is, what makes a good Mario Party board? I did mention there can be some gimmicks, and gimmicks can be fun, but usually regular boards tend to work best in my opinion. If there are gimmicks, I find that it works best for like aesthetics or board events rather than messing with star placement and the mechanics of how the board plays. Just because then that way it's not like if you pick the board, you're not like, oh, this is like, I want to play this specific game. You might be in the mood for like the aesthetics and board events of like this particular board, like Peach's birthday cake for instance, but you're like, oh, I want it to start to like move around, so it kind of makes it a little bit harder to pick boards that you want, if that makes sense, if the gimmick is like built into the board itself. That said, some of the gimmicks like star stealing on I think Snowflake Lake from 6 can be really fun and a different change of pace. But I don't know, for me the basic star moving around the board formula works best. It is also good to make sure that you have multiple pathways to traverse the map, just because if you get stuck in one place for too long, it can be kind of aggravating, especially if there's no way to really get out. One area I can think of off the top of my head is Mario Party 4, Toad's, like, I can't remember the name of it, it's the amusement park one. It is notorious that people can get stuck in that teacup loop for the entire board, and that is just not fun. There has to be a way to move around and get out. There are sections in some boards where it's like, oh, there's a little loop that's like a punishment if you get in there. And that's a little bit different, I would say, because the whole point is like, oh shoot, oh god, I'm trapped in there. But by the time you get there, it's like further in the board, so you're more likely to actually have some items to actually get out of there, as opposed to the Toad board one where it's right at the start and you don't even have any sort of chance to like go to a shop and buy something to make sure you can get out of there. Personality is also big. Board events do help with that as well. There are definitely some maps where it's just kind of like, it's just like, oh, this is like kind of just a forest map. The Wiggler map from Jamboree, for instance, for me, doesn't really like it's a fine enough board, but it's just kind of like, it doesn't really have like pizzazz or its own identity, in my opinion. I find a lot of the forest ones kind of jumble together a little bit in particular. So having stuff like Horrorland, or even the Bowser ones tend to differentiate themselves decently enough. As far as a good example of a really good board, Horrorland is an example that comes to mind a lot. It's usually the one that people play the most in Superstars, for good reason. But you do want to try to have boards that are all kind of to par with your best ones, otherwise even the best of the best can get a little bit tiring if you play it over and over again. Next question. How does writing, drawing comics for a non-story game like Mario Party differ from creating a comic for more story-based games? Definitely there are less restrictions and no chronological order to adhere to, which is really nice. It can be nice to kind of go through the story and tell the story, but sometimes it's like, oh man, I really want to get to like this part, or if I passed a part and I think of an idea later, that can be kind of awkward because it's like, well, I already passed that part, so I guess I can't really, go over that because I passed it already. Another nice thing is there are no spoilers generally in non-story games like Mario Party. Like, sometimes there can be like an unlockable character that maybe people don't know about or something, but usually even those things aren't really hidden for very long with games like these. So I never have to worry about like, oh no, someone might see something before they've reached that part in the story. Another really nice thing for games like Mario Party is that there is easier shareability because there's no spoilers, no chronological order. You can jump in at any point. A lot of people have played Mario Party, and even if you only played it once, you kind of get the general gist, so it's easier to share around and be like, oh yeah, I get this is funny. Last question from Aquasun. How does Mario Party rank in your tier list of party games? It is very high, probably at the top, honestly. Things like Mario Kart and Smash are fun too. Not in my sphere as Mario Party. I really like the chaos and the luck that is sort of baked into Mario Party's identity, while still having like enough skill that it's not just completely random luck. Like if you know what you're doing, you can consistently come out in first and second place. Next question comes from the Urban Legend. Which Mario Party is your favorite? It's hard to say. There's a lot of really good ones, but I'll probably have to say, I'll say 6 first. It's probably in second, as well as Superstars is also really good. Superstars and 6, I would say, are kind of like fighting for second. 2 is my gut feeling, not only for nostalgia, but its quick pace and those costumes, man. I know everybody raves about them, but there's a reason. It's so cute. It's just oozing with charm. It's just such a simple thing, like 6 boards, 6 costumes. Well, not really. It's 5 costumes because the Bowser one you don't get a costume. They should have got evil costumes. I'm just saying. Last batch of questions comes from Angel Princess. What is the earliest memory you have of the first Mario Party game you played? I would say that I think the first memory I have of Mario Party as a series is renting the first one from the theater. And specifically, I actually couldn't play it for a while because I was really young, and I was like with my mom. And I think we went to the theater first, but she had something to do, visiting a family friend, or there was some reason she was going to someone's house to just like chat. I think I was there for like an hour. I was just reading the instruction booklet or like looking at the game box and stuff from the theater. That's all I really remember. And sitting in the car being like, oh man, I can't wait to get home and play this. I do also remember playing the first Mario Party at a classmate's birthday party. A bunch of people there were all sitting around the TV watching. People were switching off and on for who was playing. Lots of yelling and cheering and stuff. It was great. Next question. What is your least favorite Mario Party game? My gut would say 9 or 10, but I haven't played those, so that does feel a little unfair. I did play Super a few times, but the minigames were really good, so that one was like, If I had to say, maybe 8. I didn't play it a lot, but there's something about that one, like the motion control minigames are like, okay, but then there's also something about the sound design and the look that feels like off. I really don't know how to describe it. It might be because it's like in the 3x4 aspect ratio, even though it is on the Wii, so like there was some like weirdness there. I do think it also has like, it feels like it's almost shaded with black, if that makes sense, even if it's not. Like something about the models and the way it sounds doesn't look or feel like how it feels like it went back to how 4 looked, which 4 worked for me because that was the first one on GameCube, so it's like, okay, they're still figuring stuff out. But the fact that it like went back to that for 8, which I believe was supposed to be on GameCube and then shifted to Wii, it's like, why did this happen again? You know what I mean? It's weird to say, but I do think that 8 is probably the lowest. It's still good, don't get me wrong. Like, I still have fun with it. Same with, like, well, I haven't played 9 or 10, but Super was still fun. But, I don't know. Something about 8 just doesn't click with me. Next question. What is your favorite minigame of all time? I sat on this one for a really long time, and honestly, I can't just pick one. Like, I really did try. But instead, here's a top 10 in no particular order, because really, I really tried. There's too many good ones. From Mario Party 1, I would say Mushroom Mix-Up, slash Hexagon Heat in later entries. This one's so fun because of the interactions with the players and the fact that it gets faster and faster as time goes on, and then just like that flag is going up and down, and the fact that you can ground pound or like punch people, but there is also like some instant karma that you can happen if you aren't careful about it, where like you can hit somebody but then you fall off instead, so there's just a lot of fun aspects there. From Mario Party 2, we have Bowser's Big Blast, which is iconic for obvious reasons. I do like for this one, even though it is random chance, you are also like taking away other players' options, which is really nice, and that tension, especially as a battle game, is just like perfect. From 2, also Facelift. This one is really fun because of the differing faces that are changing and the way that you stretch and pull them. It's just so fun to try and perfect that, and obviously it's funny, so that's a nice one. I do like in 2 as well, you get like, I believe this is the one where you get all of the playable characters as options, which is nice, because they come back later in other games, but it's usually just Bowser, and like, that's okay, but it is fun to see the different like Peach, DK, you know, Wario, stuff like that. And I get why that's a lot of resources, but still, it could have just been like Mario, Luigi, Peach or something. Last one from 2, Look Away. I think this is the only 1 versus 3 on my list, and for good reason. There's so many mind games and like which way are you gonna look, and the fact that you can just not hit anything and you look forward, the fact that player 3 could get everybody out at once, the tension and the fact that if you don't get enough people out by the last few rounds, you're just gonna lose. But it's great. And the fact that you actually can like kind of see where people are looking and get it at the last second or get away at the last second is just, and that bop. From 3 we have Toadstool Titan. The tension in getting the block, being able to steal the mushroom, and then the rough controls of trying to run into everybody. It's like terrifying, but then it's just long enough that you have that tension there, but you're like, okay, I gotta last, and then it's your turn to try and get the mushroom. I also have Silly Screws on here. I really like this dual minigame because it's got the, you know, forward roll and then the back roll, and you also have to account for how fast you're going and like how much it's going to slow down, if that makes any sense. And you can get it to like an art if you practice it enough, where you're like, okay, if I stop completely right now, even though I'm going fast, it's going to stop rolling just in time for me to get to the next screw. And I love the satisfaction of getting that timing right. From 3, the last one is TikTok Hop. I know a lot of people are like, oh man, this one. But this one, I love the tension in the, when's it gonna go back and forth and all around? Is it gonna stop? Is it gonna slow down? I also have some really good memories of playing this with a friend in my youth where we really tried to last as long as we could. And just every single time laughing our heads off when it inevitably turned back on us and we got hit by it. We're like, no! From Mario Party 4, we have Book Squirm, of course. This one is just a classic. The fact that the pictures on the page behind the shapes can actually hide which one is which, but if you look close enough, you can see like the text. So you can be like, okay, that one's good, and then like if one is across the page from the other, you just gotta book it. The limited space between some of the smaller ones, so you have to push people out of the way. The fact that there's an endless mode in like an extra mode, they knew what they were doing with this one. This one is just, it's so creative, it's so fun. If you haven't played this one, definitely try it out in like Superstars or something. From 4, we also have another classic in Dungeon Duos, one of the best 2v2 games ever. Just this pure variety, and you know, like there's button mashing, and then there is, I guess, also button mashing, but you don't want to go too fast because you want someone to get on the platform that you're making go around. It's also just nice because it has a lot of different teamwork. My favorite section is actually the 2 pipe sections. Being able to have that, like, process of elimination going on, where two of you can check different pipes and be like, okay, it's this one, go in that one, and then like it's the third from the bottom, you know, like stuff like that. I really like that part. Honestly, I could see a whole game with that kind of like pipe aspect working. I like it so much. And the last one from 6 is Snow World. The fact that it is kind of a button masher, but not actually. You have to go like in the circle, and if you get a good technique, you can really get some super high scores. It's just really fun. The next question, favorite Mario Party theme. So like Mario Party 5's dream theme, the 6's day and night cycle, stuff like that. 6's day and night is really good, especially in the fact that it actually does change things on the boards and in the minigames. But as always, I do really love 2's costume stage play aesthetic and 3's toy box approach. All of them though, definitely 2. I really love the costume gimmick. It really does make the players also feel like they're going in to the board, you know, and like sometimes if you're between 2 boards, it's like, you know what, I want to see them in the witch outfit or the, you know, explorer outfit. And if they had a few more options for the item minigames and duel minigames, I did also like that those games were like linked to the boards. It also just really made you feel like, okay, you're picking this set, right? The last question for Angel Princess and of the month is, why is March the month of Mario Party? I do that just because March has Mario Day, March 10th. May does also work as Mario Party, but March has that extra advantage with the R in it, so it's only missing IO for Mario. And that was the last question of the month, so let's head on over to the end screen. You can see my lovely patrons scrolling on by with their NPCs that can show up in comics. If you're interested in asking a question or any of the other rewards that come along with supporting me, check out the link to my Patreon in the description. Rewards include seeing comics before they're posted publicly, behind-the-scenes drawings, voting which comic series will be featured next month or in summer months, and more. Even without pledging, you can have access to things like preview panels, coloring pages, and occasionally some of the lower tiered rewards as a little taste of what pledging can get you. Thank you to everyone who asked a question, and anyone who watched this video. The support means a whole lot to me. Until next month, bye!